protocol, Averment of jurisdiction. I'm going to read a little bit from MSTOB degrees. Then we're going to open the floor and we're going to discuss this. It's very important now, particularly since Obama signed the rights of indigenous people. Because the Europeans are having a lot of trouble with that. On the other hand, a lot of our people need to really get up on top of that and understand the political implications. Because what it did was accelerate activities in other nations that were already taking place. But you have to recognize the politics of what's really taking place on the planet so that you can be on time. Because by Romans having to liquidate, they're going to be liquidating all things from their so-called property or citizens, and they have no right to contest it. Do you understand? I mean, is everybody clear on that? Everybody clear on that? All right. Obama signed on to the rights of indigenous people, where all the nations have already signed on to. And you got to remember the Bush family, and Clinton then wouldn't sign it. But by him signing it, it puts it on the front burner, not that it wasn't already there. But what it does, it brings attention to people who are paying attention to the argument that the Moors have been giving these people since Raleigh brought the movement to the people. Whereas, because there's so much opposition to both the truth of history and the truth of the politics here, it's almost like, except for people that really paid attention, it's like we were blowing in the wind, if you understand what I'm saying, because the European is the Negro people's God, and unless he says it, they don't believe anything, you understand? So what it does for those who are paying attention, it makes the common people recognize that their status condition is a political issue that they need to really deal with. You understand what I'm saying? And that the rights that they keep seeking, they've got to have a nationality for it to be enforced by law. You understand? Also, it makes them conscious that they can sue people on elementary basis for the torts, and maybe they got to call some marching guys, some protest guys. You know the many guys that do that. You understand what I'm saying? Of course, they're going to have to learn civics and start taking their place in the affairs of men, but it gives them a boost. Meanwhile, the nations of the earth are liquidating any paperwork that's connected to the Federal Reserve's Jesuits' dollar as fast as they can. So the U.S. corporation is going to liquidate all properties of persons who are their subjects and citizens, and passing laws that they can't contest anything. You understand what I'm saying? In other words, they've already confiscated the property technically since Roosevelt. Technically. You understand? And mortgaged it. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? So this is where they have been using the birth certificate, the marriage certificate, more succinctly to get finance from around the world. Well, now those instruments have matured and then matured again and then matured again. The problem is that they multiply them in Ponzi schemes around the world, not just here. And that's what is called the world economy to collapse. But it's because the people, put it this way, the Europeans been here for quite a while and people forgot that they're colonists. Even some of their own allies, you know how this thing is so ingrained, you know how the thief is so entrenched that he's start believing himself. And they built up so much wealth on our birthright and our estate that everybody got comfortable with it. To the point that when it started tripping and falling apart and imploding, everybody's in denial, even a lot of their allies. However, their allies and others see Babylon burning. Regardless of how asleep the people are, the world ain't waiting because they're not asleep the way we are, put it this way. liquidating, and this is another reason why you have what you call the job shift. See, because when Rome was in power, Rome artificially kept other nations down. And people here started forgetting that. They started actually believing that the U.S. corporations under Rome's power were superior to others. It's not the fact. In other words, they start, you know how they say, people forgot that the wealth they have here, they stole. It didn't come from creative minds. They stole. And then he kept wars going on around the world in order to destabilize everyone else so they couldn't compete. So it gave the appearance that they were superior. But they weren't in fact superior. They were just the best robbers and the best murderers. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? And so the heirs of the estate became sleep too. In other words, we fall in love with our oppression the same way they fall in love with their superiority complex built on artificiality. Well, in the real world of math, that doesn't really jive unless you can keep everybody else down. And it's like a little Dutch boy with his finger in the holes in the dam. You only got so many fingers, you can only stretch it so far, and after a while, you can sit there holding your fingers in those holes and you'll drown. If you get the point. And this is really what's happening to them. Now, logically, they have to keep the illusion of that they have power that they don't have. Meanwhile, the rest of the civilized world knows that's a fraud, and they're liquidating. So while the people here haven't gotten used to this situation, are comfortable and trying to think that they're going to invest in this thing when it's really done. It's like this thing is the momentum is, you know, so like operating on its laurels on what used to be, but it's so big, it has a reflection of power, and there's still power, but it's, you know, it's already on the other side of the hill with no brakes. You know what I'm saying? No brakes. Yeah, for real. And so the real deal is that we have to prepare seriously for the New World Order. They're going to try to be the rulers of the New World Order, but the rest of the world says nada.
That's right.
You understand? So the New World Order is either going to be the heirs of the estate, which means you're going to be locked in perpetual slavery permanently and have the people exterminated, or you're going to take your place amongst the affairs of men with the rest of the civilized world and regain your lost estate. There's a qualification that must take place, which means you have to know the truth of the geography. You know, so you have to know truth and so the truth is the truth of the politics, Islam. Now just opening up, and feel free, what do you recognize with this? Truth and divine truth.
Yeah.
It's open, you know, if you want to speak on it. I know you've heard that phrase. Like Raleigh said, I want my people to know the truth and the divine truth. Most people read past that. It means they missed the message. What does it mean? I mean, use your common sense. It's not a trick question. Common sense.
I'll try.
And then you can answer.
I'll try. There are many truths. You know, each system has a truth. Because that is a system, but that is not the divine truth. The divine truth is that which encompasses all things, and there is only one truth.
You're correct to some degree. You are. Then Rob, then you.
One is a superior figure and one is a human figure.
No, it's not what it's, yeah, but it's not what it's intended. Because it's really a political truth. A political truth. Right? And then this is the truth about religion. Or esotericism. Gnosticism. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Meaning that what you think is, and what you thought was, from what you thought religion was, you have to know the truth of what it is, which is osis of the gnosis. And this is the general cover of truth in general, both the politics, the geography, the linguistics, etc.
So, is the first one, is that define fraud?
No, it's not, nothing's fraud here.
Okay.
No, the message is, listen, this can cover it all.
Okay.
But this is said purposefully because it sends a message to you, if you understand.
Right.
Either one of this can cover it. In other words, it's not a trick. It's not a trick statement. You know, like if you want to know the truth, right? The truth about your birthright, the truth about your nationality, the truth about the true geography of the world. You understand what I'm saying? But divine truth, which means you must understand the truth of what you think religion is, of what it is as opposed to what you've been told it is. Because it's not what you think it is. You understand? So that has to be brought out when you become adept in this information. And this will be more or less in the area of what Abdullah teaches, in the etymology of words, language. You understand? And that will give you more into the esotericism of the linguistics and the history. It would add to all of the other truths that you know, what you think you know. I mean, it refines it. Do you understand? Now, protocol Averment of jurisdiction. I'm going to read from the MSc of A degrees in jurisdiction. Take notes. Most of you already have this. I wanted to run some of this stuff off because of time period, because I've been so busy I didn't have a chance to. So, keep concept. I want you to have concepts. Jurisdiction. Jurisdiction covers, encompasses, assimilates, and incorporates every type and kind of judicial action, quote unquote, judicial action. Understand? Every type of judicial action. That means whether there is determinations of paperwork, deeds, titles, names, places, legal decisions, property, estates, inheritances, etc., suits. You understand? Trials. They're called judicial actions. And any act that's done in law would be called an action. All right? So if somebody's suing, or if you're counter-suing, it's called an action. You understand? Anything that's initiated to start the movement of activity on contracts, instruments, etc., it's an action. All right? So judicial, or what you call jurisdiction, covers every type of judicial action. Are we clear? Now, logically, there's authority involved in this. Because this constitutes the most powerful institution in any government. Do you understand? Judicial powers. Because they have the power of life and death. Do you understand? And the power of your estate, and of your life, and of your inheritance. This is the reason why constitutions are in place to protect the people from that potent power. You understand? Which they call, where the people themselves give up a little bit of their sovereign power to government representation to secure their rights. Doesn't give rights. Do you understand? It's a fundamental principle behind civilization and government. Are we clear? Islam. Clear? All right. Averment. Averment. What's an averment? Averment.
Okay, as was demanding that the power be whatever it is.
It's a strong affirmative demand and statement. No matter what, you can add it to any other part of judicial action, but an averment is a strong affirmative declaration statement made in law, in general. Even like say if you're objecting, it's an averment. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. To affirm. All right?
The affirmative has to be along the line of truth, though.
Well, yes. Yes. Now, this is going to be a protocol of action as a standard for you when you're dealing with any of the quasi-government agencies, etc. And the reason why I brought the issue of the rights of indigenous people is because you're going to be enforcing that to secure your rights, because Rome was liquidating and they're going to be trying to override your rights, because their whole structure of the U.S. Democracy Corporation is to convert people's unalienable rights into commercial privileges, which is how they built their wealth. And this is the basis upon which they do the marriage certificate and why they filed it in the Department of Orphans. That's to interrupt inheritances. Do you understand what I'm saying? We went over that last year and earlier this year about it's cheating. That's what that's for. You understand? And bottomry. All right? Likewise, with them bringing admiralty law to seize onto the land. Its purpose. All right? And so we're making this argument as a standard for you so that you can, no matter what you're dealing with, you always keep this in mind. Are we clear? That begins the process of you affirming not only who you're dealing with, but the limit of their authority. All right? Remember, anyone in government, no matter what level of government, has what you call delegated authority. It has a pocket, it's a limitation. Like you look at these squares on this floor, where these lines are, that's limitations. Look at any part of government like that. Your duty and your job to yourself and to your nation is to study fundamental civics. This is why Noble Raleigh established the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, 1925, as a civic organization to teach our people those things necessary to make them better citizens. Do you understand? In 1928, they adopted a religious affidavit. That religious affidavit is for you to use law, do you understand, to rebuke taxation without representation that does not apply to you. Are we clear? That's for people who don't understand nationality. In other words, he covered all grounds. Those who understand nationality could use the Moorish Holy Temple of Science. Those who didn't understand it could use the Moorish Science Temple of America. But he covered all grounds. Those who understand nationality, who are prepared to take their places amongst the affairs of men, would use the knowledge taught in the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, which is a civic organization. You understand? But everybody didn't understand the movement, because many people were coming from churches and a lot of organizations. So a religious affidavit was adopted in 1928 in order to accommodate them. Do you understand? And so a lot of people get confused unless they've studied. They get confused. They think it's different. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? It's accommodating.
the Moorish temple isn't that tainted? They're not really, Moorish temple, isn't that tainted? But they're not really telling us exactly what we're supposed to know.
Well, this is why you study. Because once you understand how powerful this movement really is, you'll understand why there's opposition. You know, we're in a casual situation, but this is government of the planet, not just government here. Because when Rome took over the Moorish Empire, Rome's ruling the world. Because you're the sovereigns of the world. When you were with Rome, the world fell like dominoes. So when you rise, Rome loses power around the world. So they're not looking at this the way our people looking at it. Some of our people looking at this, they love Raleigh because he's a prophet and he's done a great work and they're worshiping him rather than paying attention to what he told you. They need to pay attention to what he told you. You're going to regret not carrying out the law. You understand? That's the reason why he warned the Moors early. He says, you know, about the infiltrators. You know, he said they can slow me down, but they won't stop me. He said, because the time is going to come, and I'm going to open up the floodgates. And people are going to come into this movement with their eyes already open. They're going to tell these sellout Moors, get in the back. Which is what you're experiencing now across this country and on the islands. You understand? That's why you have communication across the country lines now. People declare their nationality. Moorish nationality. Mexico, Canada, England, Australia. They call from all around the world. You understand? A lot of people around the world know more about those drawing than a lot of people here. People here is like slow. Almost 2 steps above retarded. I mean, it's not personal, but it's true because he brought the knowledge here since 1913. You know, and nations all around the world have been nationalizing. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? And we're slow and we're the head. Everything hinges on us. Do you understand? But because of the time period, the principles of the true principles of the divine movement must be taught to people so to limit the destruction and the bloodshed, which is going to happen. Which is going to happen. Absolutely. Because Rome ain't just going to pack up and go just because everybody wait. Why? Because his own brothers are rejecting him now. They got comfortable in your house. They came here originally to steal our gold and our silver for Pope Innocent. But they got comfortable. You understand what I'm saying? And so they plundered, burned the books in order to set people back. You understand? And disconnect them from the land and then claim the land. This is why they call themselves Americans. And they're not Americans, they're Romans. So people forgot they're the ones who murdered all the prophets. Even though the tradition of lynching still continues. Do you understand what I'm saying? People think they're Americans. They're not Americans, they're Europeans. Don't get angry at them. That's who they are, they're Europeans. You're the Americans.
But aren't we Europeans too? We came from.
Huh?
Aren't we Europeans too?
Say again?
Aren't we Europeans too?
Well, Europa, Queen Europa.
Right.
Well, Asiatic, but she moved that area. But when we accepted that land to them, the Druids moved out so they could have that land, which is compatible with their skin. Because in Central South Africa, the sun was trying to kill them. Because they're mutants.
That's right.
You understand what I'm saying? And see, because the melanin is limited in their skin, because once you remove the hair from the Negro, which is the chimpanzee, and then you blend it with them, you understand that the sebaceous glands still produce oil, you know, to try to protect the hair. But what happens is that the nervous system is subject to rays of the sun that yours is not subject to. This is the reason why usually, as soon as they get a little bit of age past 30, they start getting cantankerous. You understand? That's because of the heterogeneous nature. So you don't get angry at them, understand that they're human and chimpanzee mixed. You understand? And so this is another reason why, as Rome began to get power, why they kept separation, you know, so that you wouldn't see the other side of their nature, because sometimes they act like animals, sometimes they act like humans. You understand what I'm saying? Then plus, if it rains, or just like say, they can come out of the shower, and 20 minutes later, and you smell oil from their sebaceous glands. Because it's trying to oil the fur. They don't have fur. You understand? So when you have that knowledge, you don't use that from a negative. That's the real biology. Do you understand? That's the actual biology. You know, the so-called Charles Darwin, the naturalist, if you understand what I'm saying. And so it makes them subject to rays of the sun that you're not subject to because you have a spacesuit. Your spacesuit is the melanin, the carbon. You understand? So they mutate, and the sun creates all kinds. That's why the Romans get melanoma. Melanin, lack of melanin, and the sun makes cancers. And that's when you look in the Bible when it says that the lepers, and we took them to Patmos, you know, put them behind the rock until their lesions were all white, until we could bring them back in society. That's why we took them to the land of the Angles, England land. You understand? But Patmos is actually right off of Turkey, actually. And that was like a stopping point. And that's why, like in the secret societies, where they'll show you, like you look in some of these old Masonic centers where Europeans are, and they'll have maybe murals on the wall, and they'll have Moors on camels, and they'll have Europeans with loincloth going across the desert, and they do rituals. Do you understand? Now they flip, they traded places with you. Now they're ruling, that's why they treat you bad. So once you know the real history, you must understand that you were overthrown. They traded places with you, that's all. That's why in all secret societies they wear your feathers. Because that's the sovereign of the planet. That's figure number one. Alright? So you must know the real politics, and so that you can understand the motivations, the political motivations. That's even, you know, before, go beyond Pope Innocent III and the Spanish Inquisition. Let's go to the real history. You understand? So now that Rome has played her part, in other words, now her cycle is over. You understand? Rome's rule is over. Now she's on the downside. Now you, who are heirs of this estate, must be prepared for the new world. You know, the new era of time. Yours is the new era of time, the European called the New World Order. But they're both the same thing. You understand? I.e., the Aquarian Age brings it in. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? All right, so this is what Jesus talked about. You understand? This is the new era. What Giraldi says, the new era of time. The Romans say, New World Order. They both say the Great Pyramid. Now, they're going to try to claim your Great Pyramid. It's up to you to claim your Great Seal of Giraldi and put it back to you. You understand? That's why it's on your chart. But you got to recognize it. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Because that's the symbol of civilization on this particular planet. Not that we was always here. You understand what I'm saying? So, because Rome is on the way out, Rome is doing, blowing louder, talking trash louder, doing more stuff. You understand what I'm saying? Negative. You understand what I'm saying? So, remember, as we talked about before, with the Treaty of Verona, that was the agreement between King John and Pope Innocent III to deliver all conquered things to the Jesuits. You understand? And it was upon that oath that mortgages was built. And sharecropping. That's why sharecropping, mortgages, and credit cards all work on sharecropping principle. Are we clear? All of which will get you in trouble because it's not designed for you to win. It's designed to deliver you and everything that you buy and sell to the popes of Rome. And so you must understand the real politics. That's why all your presidents must belong to secret societies, Skull and Bones, Shriners, whichever they are. Kyklos, Ku Klux Klan, Union Guard, White Camellia, Daughters of the American Revolution, etc. Because it's really going to one source. But you see all these faces, and so you think the missions of them is different. Do you understand what I'm saying? But all of them take on the title in their hierarchy as either Dragon, which is the Grand Protectors of the Christian Creed, which is Kyklos, which is Ku Klux Klan, Union Guard, White Camellia, or Potentate, which is in your different orders of Masonry. But they all have the same knowledge. How they use it, that's another argument, because truth is what it is. How you use it, you can misuse it just like water. Same water can quench your thirst, someone can drown you in it. You understand? So you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Learn, understand things. This is why the prophet said, in every hall of learning I will sit. Which means you're supposed to know what goes on this planet. It's your planet. You understand? Now there's other knowledge that's going to be opened up. Actually this year. Starting into 12, particularly as you all deal with this pole shift. Because the polar shift has already taken place with the sun already, about 91. Plus they shifted the grid on this planet 3 degrees to the right anyway. And now it's shifting almost 40 miles a year. Yeah.
Does that have to do with the tampering with the earth, taking things out like oil? It's like a balloon. You got a big balloon.
That's affecting you too.
You keep poking holes in it, it gets lighter. So that's probably.
Well, let me tell you what they're not telling you. A lot of these energy companies right now are plugging holes because they're recognizing it's causing ancient earthquakes. They're just not telling them. It's causing earthquakes. Even once they had that in Arkansas, this is past week. You understand? Because the sun's pole has already shifted. It shifts every 11 years, a few months. But the reason why it hasn't affected the earth the way it does in the larger cycle is because of the many cycles. Remember now, most of the people measure by the moon and the sun. But in ancient days, we measured by 19 planets. So we're watchers now, we're doing the sun measurement. Right? And the Muslim and the Christian calendar, we deal with the moon and the sun. Do you understand? Right. Anciently, we dealt with Venus, all the planets within here, including Nibiru. That's the one that circles 90-degree angle contrary to the plate of the 9 here.
Is that the solar system?
Yes. That's why it's called the clock of destiny.
Plugging the holes in for it's not going to solve the problem.
It's not. Because you're dealing with time, error.
Right.
We measure time by cycles. You understand? All right, and so you have to get back to that divine truth to understand the planet, to understand you.
You got to stop the world.
That's why you must learn the truth and the divine truth.
You said that was going to be a
Nibiru. We'll go into that later. But as you're, like say if you deal with the central sun right now, the sun here, not the unseen one, the one that you see. And you have all your Eloah that revolve around it, and your collective Eloah is Elam. The energies that they create is called the 7 eyes, which is where you collectively as one, this is where you get the symbol of the eye, the single eye. You understand?
That's the eye on the pyramid.
Oh yeah. That's Alain, Allah.
That's also the pineal gland.
Oh yes it is. Symbolic, activation of it. In ancient Rome they would call Jove the Eye of Jove. In all your secret societies they call it Allah or the Eye of Jove, including Europeans. That's why Europeans That's the real reason why Europeans and Masonry study Islam. But they're not studying ritual Islam that the public has out here. They're studying Moorish science, because that's what runs the planet. Do you understand? They're dealing with real geography, geometry, physics, mathematics, calculus, trigonometry. You understand what I'm saying? Space flight. You understand? Interstellar flight. And ancient records to that effect. Do you understand? They're still trying to figure out stuff that they ain't figured out yet. Do you understand what I'm saying? In other words, there's nothing new. They're going over old records because they're trying to save themselves.
But see, they don't know. We know.
They do know.
You think?
Oh, stop. They stole your birthright.
Right. Well, we have to talk.
Keep this in mind. Rome is ruling the planet not because they're more strong than you. They ain't got 2 more muscles than you. It's because they know your real history. And you got to remember they were given the 8 ball.
Right.
And the 8 ball is the infinity knowledge, what you call Gnosticism. You understand? And it's given in degrees. This is really what Isis and Horus's Ma and Sun, May Sun, and the study of it, Re, Ra, is. You're the great Masonic secret. Specifically, the Moabites, which is why Dr. Ali has humanity written on her womb, giving you keys. That's the Holy Grail. On your questionnaire, you notice how you wrote humanity on the woman's womb? How blatant is that? Very open, isn't it? How many people know what they're looking at? Adults do. Most people look at an interesting sketch. The Holy Grail. You understand? See, but it's given in a simple way because no one's threatened. Because he had to make this thing live until some came who could see it. Some who came who would really understand it and carry out the law. You know, this is why he said it would be 50 years before some of you know what I brought to you. Not that some weren't told, but according to where they are in their evolutionary scale, where they are in the pineal. But yet the keys are all there. You understand? It's latent. It's like latent power. It's a nuclear bolt. You understand what I'm saying? So this is one of the keys that Rome uses to rule the world by claiming jurisdiction. You see? You understand? So knowing one of the major keys, you must rebut or counter it with your nationality. That's why I say I want you to know the truth about your nationality and your birthrights. Then when you begin to really study it, then you begin to understand sovereignty. You understand? Then in chapter 47, he gives you the geography and the geographical boundaries of the estate. Do you understand? Then you understand why Romans, when they talk about from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, they'll fight the country's battles, because that's the estate. You understand? Now you understand why the Christians murdered Montezuma, old Central Africa, and then conquered all the way to Tripoli. What is that? The Moroccan Empire. Now you understand why Morocco is the first nation to recognize the United States. Then you also recognize Europeans try to pretend they don't know who the Moors are, like it's some kind of belief system, because you are the government. You understand? You're the great Masonic secret. You're the key to the power of the planet. Problem, you're sleeping. You understand what I'm saying? Meanwhile, the world don't wait, if you understand. So the prophet comes to wake you up, but not only to wake you up here, but actually to stimulate you to wake up your cell memory. Because all of it's in you already. You understand? But he has to wake up your cell memory. Now the deal of it is, as a protocol, whenever Rome approaches you with anything, it's always involving jurisdiction. All right? So I'm going to finish reading this paragraph and go into this in more detail. So jurisdiction covers, it encompasses, it assimilates, and incorporates every type and kind of judicial action. Judicial actions pertain to authoritative actions and issues involving justice and the administration of justice in matters of rights of parties, quote unquote, rights of parties, rights of property, and judicial proceedings, etc. Are we clear? 19. Are we clear? So everything involved with your work, what you buy, your house, you traveling the street, you understand? Going to court, not going to court, buying and selling, involves judicial actions. Therefore, it's important that you understand what jurisdiction is absolutely and to the T in all aspects of it. All right? So judicial actions and jurisdiction involves persona is the self, is the being. All matters concerning you, yourself, personal property, etc. Subject matter involves all classifications of law, case laws, no matter what class, all right? Territorial involves discretion, the capacity, the authority to even rule, to even hear, to make rationale, or make discretion. And also, terror also applies to land. So that's territorial jurisdiction also. So all these aspects of jurisdiction, we must have a clear understanding. And, all right? Because when you're challenging jurisdiction, or when you're going to courts, or when you deal with property, or you deal with issues and controversies, all of this comes into play. It's not spoken, but it comes into play. Therefore, it is vitally important that you be aware of it, because much that goes on in your everyday activities, this is behind it. This is the canvas upon which social activity is painted. All right? This is why all those who rule or are in government are Masons, because they must know the real runnings of government, universally. The same rules apply across this planet. All right? When there's controversy between nations, these rules still apply. When there's controversy between corporations, these rules apply. When these controversies apply to people of same political states, nation states, corporate states, state of mind, these rules apply. All right? So get this down, get this grounded, so that you can do what? For what purpose? Why am I saying what I'm saying? So that you can do what? Begin to secure, by your responsibility, your unalienable birthrights. Without this knowledge, people will trample on your birthrights and you won't know. Or you may cooperate with them while they're doing it. You understand? So when No Proudly registered the Moorish Holy Temple of Science as a civic organization in 1925, that was its purpose, to teach you those things, because you cannot take your places amongst affairs of men if you don't know these rules. Because that's how it's run. Are we clear? You buy a car, that's involved. You pay taxes, that's involved. You get a ticket, that's involved. You don't get a ticket, still involved. You walk down the street, cross a corner, that's involved. Buy a house, that's involved. They take a house from you, that's involved. You need justice because there's a violation, that's involved. And so you must know all these at any particular time. Are we clear? Because it takes place all the time at any particular time. And there's no time that it doesn't take place. In any interchange that you have, there's no time that this does not take place. It absolutely does. They don't speak it to you because they know its power in that knowledge. Are we clear? Because this can determine whether or not you own things, whether or not you can secure what you think you own. You understand? Whether or not you have a right, as we was talking earlier about civil rights issues, stuff like that. It's all involved with this too. So you must understand jurisdiction. That's why people must understand, like say for instance, if someone looks into the classification of the Civil Rights Act, not civil rights as a principle, Civil Rights Act, for securing their rights, as a lot of people who are Masons and working for Rome had our people marching and praying, get dogs sicked on them, border cannons, ships sicked on them, working with the Civil Rights Act, thought they had rights, struck down by the Supreme Court as unconstitutional. They didn't have rights, they were property. And they were hiding it behind the 14th Amendment, which is really the power amendment for securing slavery for the popes of Rome in the Western Hemisphere. Presented to the people as a freedom clause. You know, I say, give you an apple, it's an apple, and you bite it. You bite it if you want it. Worms in it. This is why Dr. Raleigh saying divine warning to the nations, plural. 14th Amendment, 14th, 15th Amendment is not necessary for the salvation of my people and the citizens, because what he knows is Rome's slave clause. And he said, don't practice those things that delude to slavery. That's why you don't let them classify you as Negro under the 14th Amendment, because that's how they preserved chattel property for the popes of Rome. It's not
So how does Title 42 work?
Title 42 is colored. Right. Yet it's different, and this is what's the invitation. When you look at Title 42 of the United States Code of Law, although you can use it, you can understand you want to get financed, but basically, this is why most of the time we promote people to deal with Title 18, right, which is HR. Now, you could use Title United States Code of Law, Title 42, but that's an invitation to get you off of Title 18. You know, and it has more nature of the 14th Amendment. Right. But everything they do, whenever the prophet would do something, they would do something to counter him. You understand? That's why when the prophet set up the old Canaanite temple in 1913, immediately Skull and Bones met with the popes of Rome off Jekyll Island, and Woodrow Wilson sold the government to the popes. You understand? Raleigh set up the Moorish Divine National Movement in 1916, then they set up the Federal Reserve to counter him. Do you understand? Nations of the earth, you know, they wanted the prophet to come in other areas where he wouldn't lead the people. And when he was trying, when they infiltrated the movement to try to neutralize him in 1927, etc., he did. I mean, by 1925, they started infiltrating. He did a religious affidavit in Chicago to protect the movement. You understand? Because most people that were coming from the church, so that secured their property. You understand? And so you had bylaws that was for the Moorish Holy Temple of Science and the Moorish Science Temple at the same time. That's why a lot of people who were in the movement to undermine him don't let people see the old notes with both of those bylaws in the same book. Do you understand? But those who do the research know that's also why they don't let people see the FBI papers. Because it'll let you know that some of the people that betrayed the prophet are still breathing. This is why sometimes when people go to temples, and it's unfortunate that they get confused when they get hostile. Some people get hostile, they get hostile to knowledge. If they find that you've been studying, get actually angry at you. But there's a lot of Moors that are very welcoming and are trying to preserve you know, in the temples trying to preserve the prophets and instruction. But a lot of them are overshadowed by some others who are working for J. Edgar Hoover. And it's the truth. It's no need to hide it, because people call from all around the world complaining. Sometimes we send them there, they get upset, and they wonder why we send them there, because that's our temple. And they need that knowledge. However, it confuses them when they run into hostility. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? But if you know the real history, you understand the hostility. And you don't let that distract you. Don't let them knock you off the boat, because that's what their job is. Do you understand? And this is why it's important for people to understand the nature of the Moorish Divine and National Movement and not get caught up in personalities. Because if you deal with the personalities, the people would dismiss the movement judging by some of the people that they meet that are Moors. That's why Drawley also warned them when she said, be careful, Moors, some of the people with turbans and fezzes on will be trying to put you back into slavery. And this is also why the letter he wrote when he was trying to set him up, when he was trying to take over the movement with Green and them, when he left Chicago and he came back and all his furniture was in the street, and they were selling out to the Europeans, trying to sell the movement out, and they tried to set him up with a fake murder charge. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? And he wrote a letter to be read before every meeting. That's why they don't read that letter. Because it pretty much lets you know that the movement's been infiltrated. You understand what I'm saying? And the prophet demanded that that letter be read. But they won't read it because of that. So getting back to the point, this is another reason why I founded the Roundtable, to get controversial information out to the people, or added information to the people that I knew that people who work for Hoover would block. You know, anybody's under their jurisdiction, they're going to block it. If you try to do something positive, they're going to block it. They'll collect for buses that never appear. You go try to get a bus, they'll undermine it. You try to go get some buildings for these Moors, for these sisters, and use the art and skills within it, and they will see that it doesn't take place. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? That's not all of them, but the sellout is so pervasive. This is why you don't see a lot of things that you should see, even though millions of notes have been passed through those buildings over the years. For that, that's why they pilfered all the finance for the schools, because every temple is supposed to have a school. And that's why they don't reveal the structure. So people, a lot of times when they'll come, they'll think that what they see is it. So they don't see the newspaper. They don't see the press. They don't see the industry. They don't see the women's auxiliary. Some temples preserve it. You know, we're grateful for a lot of brothers and sisters around the country who's in the temples who've been preserving it, but it's not enough for the people to see it, if you understand what I'm saying, because there's so much opposition. You understand? So the people assume that what they see is the temple. But temple is has a very broad base. You know, teach business, industry. At one time when Raleigh was on the scene, the Moors had the largest fishery on the East Coast. How many people knew that? You understand? Right in Camden, they had a canning factory. Yes. Cane Avenue, Broad Cane in Camden, most of those little buildings that them Yiddish have right now, there were Moors on all those buildings. There's a lot of history with this movement that people don't know, because those who don't like Drew Ali but wearing turbans and fezzes and been running the temples don't want you to know that history, because it will show you who the traitors are. You understand what I'm saying to you? It's unfortunate, but it's true. And so the real issue is we have to try to set something up so that these children can have a chance, since a lot of the older ones have betrayed the movement and keep on trying to hide that they betrayed the movement. That's why they don't emphasize what the prophet emphasized. They'll try to tell you the prophet didn't say that, the prophet didn't do this, the prophet didn't say that. They try to suppress any mental, social, economic, literary progress. They try to stagnate it. Do you understand? And then try to say the prophet said it. But when you read what the prophet said himself, you'll recognize, even when you look at, you go look at the microfilm. Civic organization. And they'll tell you it's just religious, only. Lying. So, therefore, people won't study law. Even though he said, go to those who know law. And they'll say, prophet, no, girl, I ain't deal with that law stuff. That great seal stuff. Ain't got nothing to do with that. How you going to take your place amongst the affairs of men when he says for you to be recognized by the government which you live in the nation of the earth? You must recognize your free national government in both name and in principle. How you going to prepare to deal with the rest of the world when you don't know law? Logically, you can't know jurisdiction because it goes with it. You see the whole point? You understand? So if you're dealing, this is why, like for instance, this is again why they're upset with Obama, because it puts this on the front line, including what? Rights of indigenous people, right? What's it, Article 15, Universal Declaration of Human Rights. You have the right to nationality, and no one can be arbitrarily what? Deprived their right to change their nationality. 1959, Universal Declaration of the Rights of the Child. Principle 3, every child shall at his birth have a right to a name and nationality. Right? What Obama signed, Rights of Indigenous People. Part 1, Article 5, everyone has the right to a nationality. Why did the nations of the earth keep emphasizing that? Because without the nationality, none of the other rights apply. Because you must be of a nation in order to be repaired. Reparations mean repairing a nation. Don't repair crayons, repair nations. You have no legal claim. You can't claim any estate, any property, without a nationality. You understand what I'm saying? This is why the European claims to be American in order to try to call other Americans aliens so they can claim your estate. That's why you don't call him American, and you don't call him white man, which is a status. You call him who he is, European. He's an occupier. He's not aboriginal to the land, he's not indigenous to the land, and he ain't Indian. You understand? This is the reason why he mixed with all the tribes, so he can claim the land. You go to any powwows now, they're all pale.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. But it's, it's good, but if you know the history, you don't get angry at them, but you know the truth. And you know the divine truth. You understand? But this is why he said for you to be active and not passive, which means being conscious is not good enough. You must be active. And if you're not going to do anything with this information, maybe you'll take over your federal affairs and go right back to the state where you found, because that's your state property until you declare your nationality and act on it. You can't just, you got to act on it. And he's going to resist. You got to understand, because this represents a term of the world, not just here. That's why everybody who knows this knowledge plays dumb, who don't have your best interests at heart. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because they already know this. You represent the movement of the world, and the world is waiting on us. They're active, but we're the hub.